Today we will talk about Render and Apple. And I found this really interesting thread on X from Lord Yayawam. Not too sure how to pronounce that, but he does put out a lot of great content about Render itself. So we all know that Apple is creating a headset for VR, AR, and it's poised to be the new killer must have. Now, this might remind people of things like Google Glass that didn't exactly go anywhere, but we didn't have this hardware and software at that time either. So the key thing is that they want it to be lightweight and capable of ultra realistic graphics, and he knows how that could actually happen, and it involves crypto. Now, that crypto would be none other than Render. So, around 10 years ago, a new file format for 3D was created by Otoy alongside Autodesk and Mozilla. It's a flexible container for CGI, video, 3D printing, holography, and encodes all details of a 3D environment. It's also open source so that anyone can actually use it. Supporters of OrbX include Autodesk, Mozilla, Warner Bros., Oculus, Disney, HBO, Discovery, Facebook, Meta, Unity, Unreal, and even Apple devices can now handle ORBX. The perk of ORBX is that it is geared towards low latency streaming, so that heavy lifting is done in the cloud and end users don't need powerful hardware. This was even demoed in 2013 by Jules Urbach and Brendan Eich. So how does this tie in with crypto, and why should anyone even care? First, Otoy created a cloud rendering service known as ORC for its own Octane render, which was fast and efficient, which then evolved in 2017 to become Render Token, which is a crypto-based tokenized service. The Render network is opening to allow render engines into this competition, I suppose, as well as aiming to have 3 language learning models or AI algorithms on the network in addition to its already impressive AI denoiser. And the goal there is to eventually open source and open spec render to make it truly decentralized. It's also good to note that Jules Urbach, CEO of Otoy Render, patented token-based billing model for server-side rendering service in 2010, crowdsourced video rendering system in 2012, and augmenting AR/VR displays with image projectors in 2015. He's also a pioneer in computer graphics, creating one of the first CD-ROM games ever created. But that's not exactly the point here. So, the network currently has thousands of nodes, which are GPUs in consumer devices in tier 3 and 2, as well as secure tier 3 from the big 3, which are Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, which are used by Marvel and other studios. And there are thousands of people actually wanting to join as well. So, how does Apple fit in? Well, since the release of Octane X for iPad in 2022, people now have near unlimited d- d- decentralized GPUs on the Render token network. And it's fast even on the iPad itself. So here's an example, and it's just showing how the processing software actually works. For all iOS devices capable of running Octane X, it would literally be an update to enable a node mode, providing power to the network and simultaneously being able to earn from it as well, which would increase the largest GPU network in the world by several orders of magnitude. And with Apple's latest foray into finance with the Apple Card, it makes sense that they would embrace a new means of utilizing their entire fleet of devices so that its users could prosper. But they would only do this if they could offer the perfect solution. And he believes that the perfect solution is an ultra realistic graphics unlike anything that anyone has ever seen in a beautiful product run by a network of its own devices. We know that Otoy and Apple have a great relationship, and he's interested in how this expands and grows. Now, I did look into how Octane Render, developed by Otoy, could actually work with Apple as well. And here are some interesting points about the connection in between Render and Apple. So, one, you have Metal support, which Otoy has been working to integrate Octane Render with Apple's Metal API, which is Apple's graphics API that provides near direct access to the GPU in the iOS device itself, which means that the integration would have better performance and efficiency when using Octane Render on iOS devices, especially those with Apple Silicon chips. Then you have Apple Silicon compatibility, which is primarily for Mac computers, M1, M1 Pro, M1 Max, and that software compatibility became a significant focus. Otoy has been updating Octane Render to run efficiently on these new chips. And then you have ecosystem integration as well. So Octane Render's compatibility with Apple's ecosystem extends to its seamless integration with popular creative software on Mac and iOS devices. And here is an example of the iPhone 15 and its power in its GPU within the device itself. So if we're able to tap into the actual device GPU and all of the hard processing is actually performed on the Render network itself, which is not on that device, then it just unlocks more and more potential for the integration of Render and Apple devices to continue to create more AR and VR applications.